first contact with Joshua Pope.
Alright, I'm back. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to change gears here for just a little bit. And every day I'm going to talk about a daily topic. Okay, I'm going to pick one subject to talk about every day a little bit more in depth. So the first subject I've chosen to speak about here is the NAG Hammadi Library. The NAG Hammadi Library. Okay, Mondays is going to be the day where we're going to talk about things related to a spiritual nature. Why? Because in my book, God is the most important, and therefore every week should start off with that energy, starting off with what it is that this God force energy around us is and is affecting us. Now, we have a lot of different books out there, a lot of spiritual books for us to look at and consider as we make our way around the earth here, or across the earth. We have the Bible, which is certainly one book, but there's a lot of apocrypha. Apocrypha are books that are not part of the Bible, that were left out of the Bible, but are nonetheless filled with a tremendous amount of very, very, very important information. Okay, so this first one here that we're going to look at is the NAG Hammadi Library. As we could see, we could find it under gnosis.org, Gnosis, gnosis meaning knowledge, gnosis.org. All right, and we look at the NAG Hammadi Library. So the NAG Hammadi Library is a collection of 13 ancient books containing over 50 texts. It was discovered in Upper Egypt in 1945. This immensely important discovery includes a large number of primary Gnostic Gospels, texts one thought to have been entirely destroyed during the early Christian struggle to divine orthodoxy. Scriptures such as the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, and the Gospel of Truth. The discovery and translation of the NAG Hammadi Library, initially completed in the 70s, has provided impetus to a major reevaluation of early Christian history and the nature of Gnosticism. Okay, so you could see just from that description there the importance that these books do play in our reality. Okay, so if we take a look now, if we flip over to this next section here, we do have the section that is related to all of the various different indexes within this book. Okay, this is the codex of all the different books that are in here. There's a lot of them, and you could see each one of these has multiple links associated with it because there are different translations. Today we're going to look at one particular book, and the book is called the Hypostasis of the Archons, otherwise known as the Reality of the Rulers. And we could see that there are two different authors that are here that did the translations. One is the Barnstone and Meyer translation, the other is the Leighton CGLP translation. All right, so let's jump over here. Let's take a look at it. This is the one by Barnstone and Meyer. Samuel's sin. Because of the reality of the authorities, inspired by the Spirit of the Father of Truth, the great messenger, referring to the authorities of darkness, told us that our contest is not against flesh and blood, but rather against the authorities of the universe and the spirits of wickedness. I've sent you this because you inquire about the reality of the authorities. The chief is blind because of his power and his ignorance and his arrogance. He said with his power, I am God, and there's none other besides me. When he said this, he sinned against all. This speech rose up to incorruptibility. Then there was a voice that came forth from incorruptibility, saying, You are wrong, Samuel. That is God of the blind. His thoughts became blind, and having expelled his power, that is, the blasphemy he had spoken, he pursued it down to chaos and the abyss. His mother, at the instigation of Pistis Sophia, she established each of his offspring in conformity with its power and the pattern of the realms that are above, for by starting from the invisible world, the visible world was invented. As incorruptibility looked down into the region of the waters, her image appeared in the waters, and the authorities of the darkness became enamored of her, but they could not lay hold of that image which had appeared to them in the waters because of their weakness, since beings that merely have a soul cannot lay hold of those that have a spirit. Okay? For they were from below, while it was from above. This is the reason why incorruptibility looked down into the region, so that by the Father's will she might bring all into the union of the light. Now the rulers have bodies that are both male and female. The rulers laid plans and they said, "Come, let us create a human that will be soil from the earth." They modeled their creature after one holy of the earth. The rulers have bodies that are both male and female, faces that are the faces of beasts. They took some soil from the earth and molded their man and their body after the image of God that had appeared to them in the waters. They said, "Come, let us lay hold of it by means of any form that we have modeled, so that we may see its male partner, and we may seize it with that form that we have modeled," not understanding the partner of God because of their powerlessness. And he breathed into his face, and the man came to have a soul and remained on the ground many days. But they could not make him rise because of their powerlessness. Like storm winds, they persisted in blowing that they might try to capture that image which had appeared to them in the waters, and they did not know the identity of its power. Now all of these events came to pass by the will of the Father of all. Afterward the Spirit saw the man of the soul on ground. The Spirit came forth from the adamantine land. It descended and came to dwell in him, and that man became a living soul. And the Spirit called his name Adam, since he was found moving upon the ground. A voice came forth from incorruptibility for the assistance of Adam. The rulers gathered together all of the animals of the earth, all the birds of the heaven, and brought them into Adam to see what Adam would call them, that he might give the name to each of the birds and all of the beasts. The rulers took Adam and put him in the garden, that he might cultivate it and keep watch over it. They issued a command to him, saying, "From every tree in the garden ye shall eat, but from the tree of knowledge of good and evil don't eat nor touch it, for the day you eat from it you will surely die." They said to him, but they did not understand what they said. Rather, by the Father's will, they said it in such a way that he might in fact eat, and that Adam might not regard them as he would a man of an exclusively material nature. The rulers took counsel with one another and said, "Come, let us take a large, deep sleep to fall upon Adam." And he slept. Now the deep sleep they caused to fall on him, and the sleep is ignorance. They opened his side, which was like a living woman, and they built up his side with some flesh in place of her. And Adam came to be only with soul. The woman of spirit came to him, spoke to him, saying, "Rise, Adam." And when he saw her, he said, "It is you who have given me life. You will be called the mother of the living, for she is my mother. She is the physician and the woman, and she has given birth." Now, there certainly is much, much more to this right here, but let's take a pause before we continue on. Okay? This book, the Hypostasis of the Archons, is very significant because it is talking about the battle that we face. You see, each and every day we go out into the world and we deal with energy. Now, this energy is being created in many ways from the physical reality that we live upon. Okay? This reality is created by the things that we think, by the things that we do, by our actions, by all the things that happen in this world. It's affected by the elements, the sun, the moon, the wind, the water. It's affected by the things we don't normally see, the planets and the stars, the astrological influence. There are energies that are subtle energies we see that affect us, and there are subtle energies we don't see that equally affect us. So our job is to find a way through all of this. Now, just as much as there are humans living down here on Earth that do affect these energies, there are those living in unseen realms that are able to affect these energies. And that is the importance of this. And we refer to these as the Archons. And these Archons working behind the scenes, they're the ones when this opening statement here is made, this is very significant. So let me go back to this one again. It says, "Our contest is not against flesh and blood, but rather against the authorities of the universe and the spirits of wickedness." Okay, so this is our challenge right here. We're not fighting against other men. We're not fighting against other humans. That is the illusion. That is the thing that's throwing us off because we think we're fighting against other humans. It's divide and conquer principle. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the Archons or the authorities, they're the ones that are causing all of this disruption, all of this discord. You see, who are the Archons? The Archons are those beings who are working contrary to the divine plan of God. The Archons were created by a mishap. So you have the immortal realms. You have all of the immortal realms where all the goodness is taking place in the immortal realms. But then there was some incident that occurred, and out of those immortal realms, a being named Yaldabaoth emerged. And Yaldabaoth ended up in the physical reality on the earth. And Yaldabaoth was be able to do some sort of creation, mimicking what he had seen. And through the process, he was able to create and bring forth other pieces of life, kind of like putting puzzles together. Okay, all the puzzles and pieces were available. He just had to put them together. And so Yaldabaoth did this. And those that were assisting him are called the Archons. Yaldabaoth is the chief Archon, and all these other are these Archons. And they don't necessarily have evil intentions all of the time. Sometimes it's just very selfish intentions. And in this regard, what they were trying to do is they were trying to capture God. So they created the skin suit in order to try to trap the Spirit of God within it. Well, that in itself is a blasphemy because you can't trap that Spirit of God at all. And in the process of trying to do so, well, that's where they really ran into their problem because God can't be trapped. And they learned really quickly that God couldn't be trapped. And not only could not God not be trapped, but the script was flipped. And God showed absolute freedom. Adam could not be controlled by the Archons in any way, so they were only left with one recourse, to kick him out of the garden. Okay? So as we go through our daily lives, we need to pay very close attention to the energies that we are dealing with, who we're dealing with, what are the experiences in life that we are having. And as we go through, it's very important. Be aware of the energies we're dealing with for the days. Okay? Be aware of the emotions that are being pushed. Be aware of the ideas that are being expressed to you because there truly are a lot of them that are out there. And all we need to do is take a look at what's taking place in the world to understand where the dark influence is. We see a lot of it taking place. A lot of it taking place right now in the political scene with all of the lies that are taking place on those who are trying to bring Donald Trump down, and then all of the evidence coming out showing that he is not doing the things that they're saying. So little by little, the truths are coming forward, and this is part of it. I truly believe Donald Trump is from God. And I truly believe that all of those fighting against him are part of the darkness, part of those dark forces that are trying to bring him down because he is of God. But it's all going to work out, my friends. I truly believe that. I have absolutely no doubt about it because I believe this is a miraculous time and God stepped in to help to right the ship, put us back on track. So there you go. That is just a nice little good intro to the NAG Hammadi Library and in particular the Hypostasis of the Archons. I want you to go back and I want you to read it. I'll make the link available today so you can go check that out. But please understand that there are those pushing the buttons out there in unseen realms. They don't have more power than we do. Not at all. We give our power up to them because we think we're powerless. Once we understand that we're not, because the power of the true divine source of all things flows through us, we're not powerless. That changes everything. That changes everything. So let's move on from there. Closing out the show here. I want to close out each and every show with a daily thought from Scripture. Something kind of send us on the way. The most important thing to me in life, as you've learned from listening to show these last 7 years, is the spiritual aspect of all things. It's the most important thing that's out there. And when we understand the spiritual realm that we're in and understand the spiritual lessons, we move through life in a much more effective manner. Much more effective. So